The music is different, and if you think I'm about to tell you something cool, then you're right. Premiering on the 19th of February is a romantic dramedy fiction podcast called Private Affairs, and here's the fun bit. It's inspired by true events. In season 1, Veronica, also known as V, a recent Melbourne transplant from Zimbabwe, unexpectedly finds herself in a situation with a charming Aussie doctor. She quickly has to learn how to keep her wig on when things get sexy, as well as navigate complexities of an intercultural relationship. This project is supported by the Victorian Government of Australia through Creative Victoria and will be available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm not missing this one, neither should you. So head over to www.privateaffairspod.com/about. I'm in, you should. Is that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Hello?
Hi, Tinto.
Hey, what's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Oh, you sound so crisp. Oh my goodness, I love this.
Oh, isn't you said there shouldn't be like echo and...
Of course,
Yeah.
It must be very clear. We want the people to hear your story nicely.
Yes. I'm hoping electricity doesn't do its thing.
Oh
Because
my
when
goodness.
electricity goes, you know Zimbabwe.
Yeah, okay, right. Let's keep our fingers crossed, okay, for this one.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome to 2021, and more importantly, welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Good. I feel good. And
Good.
like I said, I really want to laugh because it's a funny story.
Oh, is it? I'm ready for a good laugh.
Okay.
Especially given what's happening in the world right now, Shai. We all could do with a little fun and a little laughter.
Yes, I don't think it will actually sound like a heartbreak because
Okay.
I'll add some humor to it.
Thanks, man. Well, for those who are listening to The Feeling Station for the first time, it's a podcast that touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about with the view to give you lessons from their experience. Some of the experiences are funny, some are sad, some are hilarious, and some are, depressing, maybe. But in any case, whatever the situation is, we hope you take away something useful from today's episode. And one of the reasons why the podcast is doing well is because I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part, where I give you your name. Are you ready for this
And
one?
I'm hoping it's not some like weird name.
Well, it depends what you call weird, but I don't think it's a weird name. I think it's
Is it something I can pronounce?
Well, you're gonna have to find out.
Okay.
That the name I'm giving you is from Senegal or Gambia. It's used in both countries,
Okay.
and the name is Safiatu.
Safiatu. Okay, Safiatu. What does it mean?
So that means purity.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah?
That's a good name.
I like the way you say that. Is that relevant to the story you're going to tell me?
No, it's I told you I have a second name.
Oh, yeah.
So my second name is the meaning is dove, which is a sign
Of
of
purity.
and-
We have another one in the bag. I'll tell you why I'm
course,
getting
of course.
excited because I always try and find a connection between the name and the guest, and it works. It only hasn't worked once, and I'm still mad about that. But this
Okay,
one
have you
is-
tried opening a church? Like, because the way
yeah,
you're
it's
speaking
quite
names and the
prophetic,
way
isn't it?
Yes. But you should try coming back here because I don't think you can open a church there with
Nah, they won't buy it. I mean, I can't tell people here to eat grass and stuff. They will not eat it.
No, they won't. They won't even
Brilliant.
pretend. Yeah, no, they won't.
So, what are you going to call the guy that you're going to talk about today?
Let's call him.
Be creative.
Is it supposed to be an African name?
Well, it would be nice if it is.
Okay, so there's this thing about Zimbabwean guys with names that start with a T. I hope you've heard it.
Oh my goodness!
That
Yeah,
if
my name is Tinto. So already.
Yes, if you date a guy with a Zimbabwean name, you're bound for heartbreak. So let's
Really?
name him.
Oh my God!
You didn't know.
No. No, I didn't know that. So any guy from Zimbabwe whose name starts with a T is gonna guarantee you a heartbreak.
Yes, and I can guarantee every listener right now that your soulmate is not some guy with a name that starts with a T.
Oh my
Definitely
gosh!
not.
I don't know how I feel about this because my name starts with a T.
I think maybe
And
you
my
should start
nickname
looking
starts
at
with a T.
yourself.
And my nickname starts with a T as well.
Maybe you should just check yourself. Are you really a good person? How many people have you hurt? Maybe you should just sit down and
And
look at it.
reflect.
Yes.
As I make my way down to go and change my name by deed, bro.
Or maybe let's not talk about names because the names thing was trending on Twitter and people were just fighting. So
Oh
let's
my
not talk about names.
gosh. Okay,
So
fine. Yeah.
let's call this one Tapiwa.
Tapio, okay. And for the
Yes.
benefit of those that don't speak Shona, what does Tapio mean?
Do you mind defining it for them?
So Tapiwa in the context of a child means blessed. You know, we've been blessed, we've been given. You know,
Yes.
it stems from the verb kupiwa.
Yes.
So we've been blessed with the child. So Tapiwa mwana naishe is
Yes,
the meaning.
even though they go around hurting other people, they're actually blessings to their
my
families.
Goodness, this is gonna be mad. Okay, so the story is about Safiatu and Tapiwa.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's get on to the lessons that you want people to learn from your story. What would you like people to learn?
The first thing that I learned was you cannot heal someone. You cannot change their perspectives about certain things, especially if they're broken. So if you bump into someone who is broken, don't make it your priority to heal them. You're not a hospital. You're not
Ooh.
even a psychologist to start off with, unless if you're a psychologist by profession, maybe, but don't make it your priority to
Wow.
heal broken people.
You see, now you said so much in there. I don't know whether that's one or two lessons. Because first up, you said you can't heal someone,
Yes, you
and then
can't.
and then you've also gone on to say you can't change their perspective
Yes.
about certain things, especially if they're
Yes.
broken. You know, that sounds like a
Yes.
whole lesson on its own. And then you've gone on again to say don't make it a priority to heal people because you're not a hospital. That sounds
Yes.
like three lessons in one statement.
Because if you are an adult and you choose to date, you can't expect other people to heal you, because I believe that healing is a personal choice. It's something that you decide to want to partake in. So yeah, I think
Wow.
I learned that's the biggest lesson that I can say I took away from that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
The second lesson is if someone shows you even the pettiest signs of being an abuser, just walk away the first time they show it.
Now, I have a comment about that.
Yeah.
You can only notice these signs if you've been abused before.
If someone pushes you to the wall and holds you by the neck for the first time, you just have to walk away from it, because it means that person has underlying issues, which goes back to the broken aspect of it. If someone shows you that they can abuse you, then you have to walk away the first time they show it, because this is where you start thinking you're I don't know, you're a healer or something, because you can't deal with abusive people, especially if you're not a professional. You're just someone out there looking for love, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's deep. Okay, and do you have a third lesson, or those are the key lessons you want to present?
Yeah, the third lesson is I don't know if you ever decide to the third lesson I took away from that guy is, if ever you decide to deal with someone who's been married before, it's best the reasons why they got divorced in the first place before you fall in deeply with that person, because what made the previous marriage didn't work, you don't know about it. So I took away from him the fact that I need to do some investigation, be an FBI something, or get the information from them before you fall in deeply with them, because what made them walk away from that marriage could be the reason why you're going to walk away from him as well.
I mean, that's assuming that they walked away from the marriage, isn't it?
Yes.
So I've got a question for you before we actually delve into the story based on this last lesson that you gave.
Yeah.
Does this apply to people who are not married as well? In the sense that if you're not married, would you do a background check on a potential boyfriend? Would you ask the same questions? Why did you break up with your girlfriend? Blah, blah,
yes, blah. I would advise everyone to do that. Unless if the person is not forthcoming with information, then you can always ask, people that you can trust, not to be biased. Because if you ask his friends, they will definitely tell you that, I've never seen this guy so happy in my life. He's been happy with you and all that. So it's best to do like background check. You can be dealing with someone who has a history of physical abuse, and you would not even know it unless if you try to find information. Unless if you can't find that information, then you can just dive in head first, man.
But you see, people change.
Well,
people grow, right? So maybe let's say he left his marriage or his girlfriend because he was unfaithful, and they suddenly realize that this is not something that should be done in a relationship, and they vow to themselves never to do it. So they tell you, I left my girlfriend because I was unfaithful. But I've changed and I've grown. And they've genuinely changed and grown. Don't you think asking what you've done and what happened previously gives you a bias and makes you perhaps put a blocker on things that might not exist anymore?
Well, I think so there's one thing I've actually taken from my line of work, if I can say. There's what we call conscious and unconscious bias, where we critique most works written by authors. So when they write, let's say about the economy of Zimbabwe, there's a possibility that that person can be unconsciously biased because of their hate towards probably the ruling government that is there. So that's unconscious bias. You can't even appreciate even the smallest economic growth, maybe that is in Zimbabwe, right? Because of the hate that you have. Then there's conscious bias, where you are consciously being biased because of certain things in general. So this like relates to how I've managed to be dating all these people and hurting each other. I allow myself to do a critique, not based on what I've heard or what I assume or what they've made me want to see. This is like the mistake that I also do, because in my quest of wanting to not be biased, and then give in too much and relax and not take the first-hand information that I get.
I see.
So what I can say is it's a choice, really. If you want to be biased, you can be, but I don't think it's okay to break up with someone because of something that you've heard. But if you've experienced first-hand abuse, for example, then you can walk away, because this is something that you've experienced.
I see.
And I've also learned that people always have stuff to say about people, whether it's true, whether it's not true. People will have anything to say about other people. So, yeah.
Interesting. I like that. So you're basically saying, do your best to get information that you will use to make an informed choice on how you want to proceed with this person.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Now that makes sense. Brilliant. So I'll just run those past those people listening again. I mean, I've put them down as 5 lessons simply because the first one really could be broken down into 3. So first up, you can't heal someone. Secondly, you can't change their perspective about certain things, especially if they're broken. Third lesson, don't make it a priority to heal them. You're not a hospital. Fourth, if someone shows you signs of being an abuser, walk away. And last but not least, if you decide to deal with someone that has been married before, best find out why they broke up in the first place.
Yes.
So let's get straight into it. Tell me about your story, how you started and how it all went wrong.
Okay, so sometime in 2019, I got a job. So this job was giving me an opportunity to also study. So it was a contract, right?
Yeah.
Where you study and be working at the same time. So it's an esteemed uni in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So I was then moving to this town where there's the uni, because obviously I stay out of town. I stay, So how we met is really funny, because I never met him the first time. I met his brother. Okay. So I tweeted that I was looking for a place to rent in this small town. Can we give it a
name? Yeah, I mean, you can give the town a name if it makes it easier for you to talk about it.
Let's call it what? Let's call it Khartoum. It's
okay, Khartoum. Fine. Yeah.
Yes. So I was looking for a place to rent in Khartoum, and I tweeted that I'm looking for a place to rent. So if anyone has any leads, please DM me. So this other guy, let's call him John. John DM'd me and said, I have a friend of mine that stays in Khartoum. So this is his number. You just call him and tell him John gave me your number. You can assist me on getting a place to rent. So that's what I did. I texted John and John said, no, it's fine. I'll help you out. So we looked for a place to rent and we got the place and I moved here. So John constantly wanted to meet up. Even, the guy that helped me get a place. Let's call him Seth.
Okay.
So Seth wanted to meet up with me even after I had gotten a place. So let's forget about John. John hooked me up with Seth, and I got the place, and that was it. I never spoke to John again after that DM. So Seth wanted to meet up. I think for like 2 months, I didn't want to meet him because I was actually coming from another heartbreak. Yeah, that's really funny. So I didn't want to meet up with Seth. And Seth kept saying, you know what, you're so good for my brother. I think you and my brother would make a really good couple.
Okay.
So I kept being evasive about meeting him. And sometimes he would come at the campus gate and park there. And then I would never come out because I would tell him, you know what, I don't want to see you. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
So this one time I was coming from my uncle's place and Seth calls and says, are you getting in town? Can we go out to Bri? So I just said, why not? Let me just meet up with this guy. And then he said, I am coming with my brother so that we can pick you up from wherever you are.
Yeah.
So he came with Tapiwa. Yeah. So it was more like a hook up, you know. I think Seth was trying to hook his brother up because his brother was a divorcee and he was sad. So Seth wanted like a stress reliever for his brother.
Right.
And he had, plus the brother is tall and I'm tall. So I think he saw this couple that was really, really perfect for like, it was really perfect. So Seth comes through Tapiwa and we go on to Bri. So the first time I see Tapiwa, I'm thinking, oh my God, I would never date this guy. Oh my God. What type of a guy is this? Besides the height, I think I liked his height the first time.
Yeah.
So we're in the car eating the sadza and the beef and everything. And I requested for a 1 liter Fanta, and the guy just looked at me with this like funny look, and he said, you know what, you actually make a good friend or girlfriend because you're actually yourself.
Oh, nice.
So we're talking in the car with Tapiwa. Seth has apparently disappeared because obviously they hook up.
Of course,
and then Tapiwa constantly says, you know what, I don't want to get married. I don't want, he starts saying trash about his ex-wife. He says a lot of stuff that I actually wish I had listened to, like paid attention to what he was saying the first time. Because the first time that I had a conversation with him, he had a lot of bad things to say about women. You know, for someone who was getting out of a marriage, which he claims was messy because of affairs that the wife was having. So when he looked at women, he just saw, I think, the devil.
Yeah. He saw them as slimy.
Yes. So he had a lot to say, and he said he didn't want to get married. You know, I don't want to get married. I don't want to commit because I'm not in the right state of mind. Of which I realized later on that he wasn't. Fine. I'm just patient because I wanted to eat the meat. So I ate the meat. I ate all of the meat and the sadza and the 1 liter Fanta and said, you know what, I can always be patient. These guys will drop me off like at home later. So he dropped me off at around 6 and then says, can we meet up like later? And I told him, no, we can't. That was 6 p.m. We can always meet up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So this guy also works in it's some esteemed place here. Yeah. So I can't say he's moneyed, but he's financially stable. So the next day I think we met up, but I had told my housemate right then that I can't date this guy. He is this, he is that, he is that. Plus, I was telling this girl that I wasn't ready for baby mama drama.
So what are those things that made you not want to date him? I know you just said this and this and that, but I want to know what those things are. And I know there's the baby mama drama, but what are the other reasons why you wouldn't have dated him?
The fact that he didn't have the fact that he painted all women with that brush. It made me realize that if this guy can ill talk this person because of their misunderstanding. And if this guy can tell me that he's not ready to commit, well, for my sake, I'm ready to commit. I'm looking for something that is really serious. So this guy was saying he didn't want to commit. So that's the first thing. That's the other thing that made me not want to date him, because I don't date for fun. But him, at the other hand, was saying he wanted something to just like relieve him of the stress. He wasn't saying it out loud, but you could tell from the way he was saying it that he wasn't looking for anything serious. Well, I've always been looking for something serious. Of course, but fine, I just end up in these heartbreaks, but I'm always looking for something serious.
So why did you allow yourself to meet up with him then, if you're saying all the things you didn't like? Why did you say to your housemate you're going to meet him again?
It was the boredom. I would tell you it was the boredom, and I really liked the food. That's the only thing.
Was it really the boredom? Because if I'm bored and I'm going to meet a person who I really don't like, I'm not going to get excitement from that. My boredom is not gonna go away.
So I'll tell you my life when I got here. I was basically at work or at home. At work or at home. So sometimes I would sleep in the office doing like marking assignments and all. So when I got this guy coming through, I thought this was like my time to hang out. Yeah. And stupid me actually thought I could change this guy.
Ah, I see. Yeah. So that was what the driving factor was. The fact that you felt you could change this guy from...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the next day we met up and we went to his house. So he stays with the brother, the little brother. The little brother is married as well. So we went there the first time. I think we chilled in his bedroom. Nothing serious. Then I think after a couple of days, I went back to his house again. Then he had requested that I sleep over, right? And that's the first time that we actually fought. We were not dating by then, but then I just agreed to the sleepover, right? So...
hang on a second. You agreed to a sleepover with a guy you've known for how long now?
For a few days.
Was that okay with you?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be okay with me, because this is a guy who I potentially don't like. But I guess it's because you're thinking you could change him. You felt it was okay to do this because...
Yeah, this is why I said stupid me. Yeah. So I went to his house and then we kissed for a really long time.
Oh,
yeah.
For a really long time. What do you call kissing for a really long time? Who was looking at the clock?
Like that heated intimacy that is between the two of you.
Yeah.
So when it came to the part where we're supposed to be like intimate, sexually intimate, I refused, and then he chased me out of his house at around 11.
What was your reason for refusing?
I thought I wasn't ready, because my body has this thing that connects with my mind, where if I don't like you fully, I can't have sex with you. I can kiss you, I can do all of those things, but my body just doesn't like open up the way. I don't even get wet, if I can tell you that. I can kiss you, I can do all sorts of things, but I can't just let you in. So I told him I wasn't ready because I needed more time with him. And then he said, if you're not here for the sex, then you can always walk away.
Ooh.
So that's fine.
That was a bit blunt of him, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? I sort of appreciated it, because if he had probably forced me to stay, I would be talking about another issue right now.
Yeah, of course.
So I actually prefer people that ask you to walk away from their houses than someone who forces you to stay, and then when you stay, then they violate you. So this guy was just honest. He just said, I want sex, and if you're not ready for it, then we can't share the same beds, and you can just walk away. Ask my little brother to drive you back. So that's what I did. Ask the little brother to drive me back, and yeah.
So what were you saying to yourself in the car when you were being driven back?
I was cursing. I was yo. I was telling the little brother that, you know what, your brother has issues, whatnot. He expects me to do stuff for him. I was so mad. But when he said you can walk away from my house, I just walked out like a ninja, like someone who didn't feel anything. I just said, no, it's fine. If you want me out of your house, it's okay. Acting like I didn't care. But it actually got to me. So the brother then said, no, you need to give him time. What? So I then figured later on in the relationship with him when he would talk about his ex-wife and how she would deny him sex. So I think that kind of triggered him when I did that as well. So that's when he kicked me out of his house. And I said, no, it's fine. The funniest part about most human beings is when someone shows you that they are trashy, you even choose to stay. I don't know for what reason, probably stupidity or anything. But then I've concluded that it's the conditioning that most people have heard, that we saw our mothers and our aunts being violated in their marriages. Even when their husbands would bring girlfriends, they would stay, right? They would stay because that's what our culture says. A woman should be patient with the man because he is the man.
Right.
So you even choose to stay amidst the abusive behavior. You even choose to stay even when you see that someone is treating you like trash. You stay. And I think this type of conditioning needs to be gotten rid of, because if you can stay when someone chases you out of the house and shows you that behavior, it means you can stay even for more trashy things.
Well,
but anyway,
for me, this really raises the question: after this guy chased you out of his house and it made you feel a type of way.
Yeah, it did.
I'm assuming you went back at some point, maybe not that day, but eventually you went back and you guys had sex, right?
Yes, we did.
So why did you do that, knowing that there's this conditioning you're talking about? You had the perfect opportunity to leave that situation right there and then.
So this conditioning I'm talking about is something that I figured out later on, I think a year or two, because we subconsciously do things. Let me give an example of a child that grows up with a father who is a drunkard, right? There are two things that come out of that child. It's either that child gets to be a drunkard as well, or that child grows up to hate alcohol so much. But when that child is a drunkard, they never really think that the way they grew up and seeing their father being a drunkard had so much impact on the way they turned out. Yeah. So you can only realize that later when someone breaks that wall that you have.
Okay.
When someone really sits you down and asks you, why did you stay? And when you say, I don't know, they tell you, what do you mean you don't know? You definitely know, but it's something that you never think about. Because like the conversation that I had with you the other time where we talked about conditioning, how most people end up being heartbroken because of expectations that were laid out by the society. Yeah. So I don't want to delve much unless I So I think after a couple of days, I blocked him everywhere. I blocked him on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, and I blocked him on calls. But then the person that is sort of addicted to toxic love in me by then, so his missed calls. You know that thing where when someone tries to call you but it's a rejected number, it just shows that they tried calling you, but it didn't. So I then called him back. I'm the one that called him back and he said, we need to meet up. I'm really sorry. What? Then after that, we started dating. It went on. We were inseparable. I technically lived with this guy. If I tell you stuff that I did for this guy, you'd probably take a whip and beat me up.
What did you do for this guy?
So this guy, I told you he was a divorcee, right? So as a person that had been married before, and as a person that grew up in a patriarchal society, he didn't believe that he had to like make his own lunchbox or like do his own laundry and shit. So when we started dating, I started sleeping at his house. So in the morning, I'd wake up because the bus that takes him to work leaves at around 5:30. It leaves at 6:30. So I had to wake up, prepare breakfast and lunch for him to take to work. And then he would say, please polish up my shoes as well. So I would polish up his shoes.
Wow.
And then I would also like choose clothes for him, lay them on the bed, then the deo, the lotion, everything, the socks, everything. But if anything I can tell you is I don't regret doing those things for him because I wanted to do those things, not because I wanted to impress him or anything, but it's because, like I said, it's the way that we were brought up, where we think that being a basic person, being able to do your laundry, being able to do your own like dishes is something that comes installed in a woman. But
before you go too far, I need to check something with you here.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned, and I think you mentioned, because you want to stress the point that you did this out of personal choice. You did it because you wanted to do it and you enjoyed it, right?
Yes.
But you've also mentioned that given the patriarchal expectation of him because of how he was raised and stuff. Now, you mentioning those two things, to me, sounds like it's a defensive statement to say you wanted to do it.
This is why I said it's because we were brought up thinking that doing all those basic chores is something that is installed in a woman. I only got to realize later that I was doing the wrong things. Not wrong, but him expecting me to do all those things and not doing them by himself was the wrong aspect of it. In as much, I think there was this time where there was a debate about feminism. I remember there's a girl that brought up the issue about choice feminism, where she said she was choosing to make breakfast for the man, to cook for him, to whatnot. You saw it,
yeah,
right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I then figured out later that the way we were brought up, the conditioning that made it seem like it's something that you have to do, like it's installed in a woman, but not installed in a man.
So for you, how do you know that you were doing this out of choice versus this installation that you're talking about? How do you know it was you consciously saying, I want to do this, and it's not your subconscious mind based on this installed way of thinking that was at play? How do you make the distinction between the two?
So when you know what, I now don't know, because when I stayed at his house for some time, it became like a thing. I would wake up before he does and I would do all those things.
Yeah.
My dear was just a girlfriend. I didn't even know his mom. I didn't even know his dad. I only knew his brother. So now I'm not really sure whether I was doing that because I wanted, or I was doing those things because it's something that he expected me to. And
so
yeah.
So now at this point, I think it's important for us to remove the statement you said earlier to say you were doing this out of choice, because you're not really sure this is out of choice. Okay, so let's take that out of the equation.
Yeah.
And say you were doing this for a reason that you don't know.
Yeah. I think because he also expected me to.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember this one time I didn't, and then he gave me this look where he said, "You did not prepare my lunchbox." And mind you, I was also supposed to go to work that same morning.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So you then had to sort out your own stuff as well. Get yourself ready, get your clothes ready, dress up, bath, do your makeup, and then leave the house.
Yes.
Jeez.
So the first time that me and him had sex, he would always complain that he didn't want to use protection, whatnot. Yeah, I was married. I never used protection. So we used protection for some time. And then the first time that we had unprotected sex, I remember we were in his car, right? And then he said, we just need to do tests and whatnot. I am not positive, in. So fine. Let's fast forward to the first time that we had sex. He didn't want me to take morning after pills. And I remember the following day I was at work and I didn't have time to get in town. So I kept saying, please, Tapua, bring me some morning after. I need some morning after. And he said, I want a kid. I want a child, and you're not taking those morning afters, what. So that day went by. And then I think after I really pushed him, that's when he brought the morning afters, but he kept saying he wanted a child. So I then realized.
So here's another question for you. Did he ejaculate in you?
Yeah, he did.
And you knew he had?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's other thing I noticed about him. Him and the ex-wife were fighting over the custody of the child. So he sort of wanted to fill that void with having another child. And he didn't see it. I actually saw it and then decided it was not a good idea to have a child because you want to fill a void. So this is what I always told him. Why don't you just fix your issues with your ex-wife and agree on when you can see your child, then try to fill a void with having another child, because you always feel that void because you always know there's my child out there and I haven't seen my child in a long time. So I had the morning after, and let's fast forward to the part that really broke my heart.
Yeah.
So after some time, we were dating, everything was okay. I then realized that I was pregnant. I'd skipped my period. And I told him this when he was driving me to Harare.
Mm-hmm.
I told him I just spotted, and then he said, "I know we're gonna talk about it when you come back." So I went to Harare. I was just visiting people. Then I went home. Then I did a test with one of my friends. Let's call it Tari, right?
Yeah.
I told her we were in this other shop, in this other fast food called Hafe, and we got into the loo and we did a test, and I was pregnant, positive. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this guy has been nagging me for a child, right? So even if I tell him that I'm pregnant, he's probably just gonna say, "No, it's fine. We're gonna deal with that later." So when I told him that I was pregnant, he started changing up. He said I wanted to trap him because he has made it in life apparently.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I wanted to trap him into a marriage that he didn't want, and he didn't want a child. He was recently divorced, so he said all sorts of things. So my friend Tari Vena just advised that, you know what, girl, just leave him.
Yeah.
Let's just do what we can. So it's easy for people to tell a first-time pregnancy person that leave the father of your child. If he's not interested, he's not interested. But it's hard if it's your first time being pregnant and you know you have a home to go to, and your parents obviously are expecting that you're going to come up with them kwasha this one time, and you know the cows came home type of thing. So I went to the first scan. I did the first scan, everything was fine. Then the second scan, I just decided to randomly send him pictures. I thought maybe he was going to change his mind. And then he said, "You are now pissing me off. I told you to get rid of that child. I told you." And that took me back to some time when I went to sleep over at his house. He choked me. Like I was sleeping right next to him. And we're just talking about getting pregnant. And he just stood up and choked me and said, "If you ever get pregnant, I'm going to kill you." So that like took me back to the kind of person that he was. He just started changing, no calls, no text, nothing. But my Joe still talking to his mom.
So,
you know,
so hold up a sec over there. You guys had unprotected sex at some point.
Yeah.
He ejaculated in you, and then he says, "I want to have a child," and then eventually you took the pills. It didn't happen. Then you had sex again, and then there's the conversation about, "If you ever have a child, I will kill you."
Yeah.
So at what point did he change his view about a child?
I don't know.
Wow.
I honestly don't know, because this part of me when I realized that I was pregnant was actually relaxed. That no, this guy was saying he's with me for a really long time, and he wants a child. So if I tell him I'm pregnant, definitely we're gonna be on the same page.
But he had also told you that if you get pregnant, he'll kill you. So
yes.
so you're getting mixed signals. How did you know which signal you needed to pay more attention to?
The stupid me actually paid attention to the first one, where I thought he was gonna be happy.
Is it because this is what you wanted? You wanted him to be happy? Was this part of your strategy to change him?
Yes, I wanted him to be happy, because me and him had conversations for some time where he would express his hurt. And I still think this guy needs to see like a therapist or something, because now and again, when we're together, even in our happy moments, he'd always come up with stuff like, "So if you get pregnant, are you going to keep the baby away from me, even if we fight?" Or stuff like, women, I don't trust women. Women are this, women are that. Even in our happy moments, this guy would shift. His moods would just change. I think he was that person where he was in that mood or zone where he thinks if he gets really happy, then at some point he's gonna get hurt. So he was shifting in between these two moods, and I chose to take the happier mood. I chose to ignore all of those things. And if there's anything I learned, was if you have a chance to walk away the first time, even if it hurts, just leave it. Because in his happy moment, I thought he was going to be happy with the child. Honestly, I thought he was going to be happy because I wanted him to be happy. I actually set aside all the dreams that I had, not set aside physically, but when that child came, I just said, no, it's fine. We can have this baby. Because I was actually thinking of my health condition at that time. What if I die trying to abort? Because this guy would poke my belly and say, get rid of that thing, get rid of that thing. So, and I refused. So this one time we were actually chilling, even when we would fight about the pregnancy, we would chill and talk. And then you would say, I don't want this baby. You're making me want something that I don't want. What? Then I would pull this strong woman thing on him and tell him, if you don't want the child, it's fine. I'll take up the child.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was actually really stressed, really, really stressed. But I pushed it to the back of my mind because I wanted this happy, strong woman that can take anything that comes her way. And I wanted to put up, at home, they didn't know that I was pregnant. So I couldn't break down. And that's one thing I noticed also about myself, that I've taught myself to be so strong that even when it demands that I be a human being, I am not. Where I'm supposed to break down, I just put up this happy face because I think that's what I've taught myself. So at home, they didn't know. They didn't even know this guy was acting shady. They didn't even know. So
they knew he was in the picture, though, right?
Yeah, my mom didn't like him, though.
Mm-hmm.
So amidst everything that was happening, I would go for scans with my friend, and she was like the father during that time. So I then traveled with my mom to this other small town where she works. And I don't know what happened, but I remember we got there on a Sunday, and the following Wednesday evening, I just started bleeding out of nowhere. I don't know what happened. Probably, like I'm saying, it was the stress, but I didn't think it was a factor. And with the juju that his past was there are a lot of things from his past that were dark, that would always affect me. I remember when I would sleep at his house, there are times where I would have spiritual attacks. So when I had that miscarriage, I just assumed it was a spiritual attack as usual, because I remember I would have dreams about people from his past that would come. I just don't know. But then I assumed the doctor was going to tell me what went wrong. I can tell you one thing that I've learned from human beings so far. It's when people took up jobs like being a doctor or a teacher in the past, it's because they really loved being doctors, being teachers, and they would do their jobs with so much compassion and with so much patience. Right. So when I went to see that doctor, she just referred me to another doctor for a scan and then come back with the results. And then she just looked at me with no remorse, nothing, not even trying to cut her words. She just said, there's nothing here. Like in vernacular, she just said, "Apasina chino apa." Like she didn't even try to make me understand. Even when I tried to ask her why, what happened.
So for the benefit of those who don't understand, Shauna, what Safia today just basically said was, I know you're expecting a baby, but there's nothing to look forward to here anymore.
So that's what she said. And then she just waited for me to leave her office, and she just looked at me in a way like, I've told you what's wrong. So what are you still waiting for here? So I was with my friend, and she searched for emotions on my face.
Yeah.
And she couldn't find any because, like I said, I was a strong person, right? So now we move to the part where I need money for medication. I need my room cleansed. I need further medical attention. And then I had to tell my sister. My sister was really shocked that I was going through a lot, and she didn't know. So I'm on my sister's medical aid. So she, I think out of frustration, she texted this guy, and then a very long paragraph stating her disappointment that, okay, fine, even if you didn't want to be involved, at least you could have been compassionate. At least you could have been nice, and we could have dealt with this. Because this guy, I remember he told me plainly, when we stopped talking that I need to move on, look for another person, because he didn't see us together anymore.
I mean, I think that's an important piece of detail we missed. At what point did he say he didn't want to be with you anymore?
I think if like 3 weeks, not 3 weeks, but when I sent him the pictures, and he told me that I was starting to piss him off. That's when he told me that I needed to move on. He never saw us getting back together again because he can't forgive me for trying to trap him and for being the kind of person that I am.
That's crazy. You know, I'll never understand that concept of men saying you tried to trap me, because for starters, he's the one who said he didn't want to use protection, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't use protection, you've just increased the chances of getting someone pregnant.
But then,
so if anything, I think potentially the guy is the one who was trying to trap you.
I wouldn't know, but then so like he said I should move on and probably look for another person. I don't know how he was expecting me to move on with a babe. So my sister expressed her disappointment to him, and even said, now that she's miscarried, you're not even offering to, like, because I didn't call him to tell him that I miscarried. I called his aunt, the one that I used to talk to, and then I told her to relay the message to him because I really couldn't talk to him.
Did she relay the message?
And even if I tried to call him, he would never pick up. He stopped picking up my calls for like ages ago. So she relayed the message to him and he never called. I think for like 2 days. So my sister spoke to him, and then he started acting like he cared and that he wanted to take care of my medical bills. So that's when he sent her money. After being asked to act, that's when he did. So for some time he didn't call. And then he just called out of the blue and then said, how are you feeling? So the worst part about it is I was with my mom. My sister had left. And I lied to my mom that I had a period pain. So I bled and went through the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life, with my mom not knowing anything. So she would just assume it was period pain. So when he called and he said, how are you feeling? I told him, you know what? I am not okay physically, but emotionally, I hadn't allowed it to sink in. I was just brushing it off. So he then said, you're being dramatic. If you are going to tell me that you're feeling so much pain, then you're being dramatic about it. There's nothing that you can dramatize here. It's just blood coming out of your vagina. So he then dropped the call. And then I texted him and told him that you shouldn't call me. If you have nothing nice to say, just don't call me. So I went through that miscarriage. Then I came back to Khartoum for work because uni had closed when all of that was happening. So in my mind, I thought when I see him, me and him would probably have a conversation and talk about what happened and him apologize for being such a... Okay. Are we allowed to cuss?
Well, I know exactly what you're about to say. and I think the audience got the word without you saying it.
So I called him. Yeah. I'm the one that called him and requested to see him. And he said he was busy. So I knew where to find him. I dressed up the day I arrived and went to look for him. When he saw me, he just said hi and continued to do what he was doing.
Yeah.
No, nothing. So I was expecting a conversation from him, and nothing like that ever came. This is like 2021. Yeah. So this guy married someone else in less than 6 months of our breakup.
Wow.
He went to marry someone else in September last year, and they got married in December, like white wedding thing.
No way.
I'm telling you. The day I saw all those cows came home pictures from his girl, I'm telling you, I had chest pains. And I've never talked to him about everything.
This is crazy.
I know.
Do you know what would have been nice? It would have been nice if he at least told you what it is that he didn't like about you.
Yeah, I spent, I think, the whole of 2020, probably the last quarter is when I finally got hold of myself and moved. I would try to pray, but I would just break down because I didn't understand where I had gone wrong with him. I tried to reach out to him, and he told me that you know what, me and you are done. You just need to move on, get another person and all that stuff. So I tried to understand where I had gone wrong with him.
Yeah.
I tried to understand where I was wrong and ignored the aspect where he was wrong. Because for a really long time, I defended this guy, Tinto. I made excuses for him. I told people that he went through a lot in his first marriage, so he's probably just acting out because he is like trauma that he didn't deal with. So for a really long time, it really took me a really, really long time for me to accept that. In as much as I had my wrongs with this guy, I chose to stay even when I wasn't supposed to. He was also an adult. Even if we even if he showed me these signs of being an abusive person, and even if I was supposed to walk away, I wasn't like giving him his part. I was blaming myself for all of it, and I didn't even allow myself to think that there is something wrong that he also did. I mean, if you're not interested in anyone in the long run, you can always tell them. But then again, this guy hinted in the first place. So what I realized about him is he noticed that I wasn't up for him wanting to look for a stress reliever. So he switched to him looking for a stress reliever to wanting something serious. Like when you change your game plan. You see the first game plan is not working. So you then alternate to the second game plan. You tell that person what they want to hear. So you know that song by Japreza Munyaradzi?
Yes.
I was a Munyaradzi for the whole time. I made sure that like I listened to that guy. He would rant, he would do stuff, he would curse, he would do all of those things. Probably preparing him for another person that he eventually
who really wanted to be with.
Exactly.
Man.
And him seeing that this woman can actually stand this bullshit and settle for less, I guess made him realize that he wanted a woman that would not stay in that bullshit. Because honestly, if you were to give me that shit right now, I wouldn't take it.
Of course,
I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take it. But one thing I can credit to him is he altered the way I just imagined things. Yeah. And you know how situations can break or make you?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I can tell you that this one broke or made me, because I've since changed the whole thing of finding someone who's really perfect, because we are told that you never find a perfect person. Yeah. And sometimes we eventually settle for that person who has imperfections, thinking that they will be perfect for you in the long run. But sometimes you can actually meet a person who seems perfect and then they leave you eventually. So he altered that. Yeah, he altered that.
Well, for you, I think this story actually made you. Of course, it had a part to play in breaking you as a person because one, you lost a life, and I'm sorry for that. And then two, you had a really dark moment where you broke down, and three, you lost someone who you thought would have been a good life partner for you. So it did break you in a sense, but the aspect about making you that I recognize is the fact that you're talking about this openly and candidly on this forum. Okay, if you hadn't learned something and if you hadn't been able to pick yourself back up, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I don't think so. And for a really long time, I didn't want it. But what I can tell you is I would talk about it to anyone who dared to listen, but not to anyone I would meet in the street. But every time a conversation about heartbreaks would come up, I would always make sure I share the story, because this part of me wanted to talk about it with him, not with anyone else. Okay. So the fact that he wasn't there to listen made me want to look for other people that can actually listen to me.
Yeah. So how do you feel about him now?
I will honest with you. I let him go, but then I'm just hoping karma deals with him. I'm not gonna be that person that says I forgave him and God is going. Yes, God will do his part, but at this point, I don't wish anything good on him. Probably he's doing good since he's married now. Everything's going good for him, but this part of me just I even if I see him getting beaten by dogs, I'll just add salt to it.
Wow. make it just that much bit tastier for the dogs, yeah?
Yes.
Wow.
And he also showed me that hurt people hurt other people.
Yeah.
And in your journey of healing, you're bound to also break other people.
One thing I hope doesn't happen with you is that you break other people as well, because you've been hurt.
Yeah, but I tried to date after him. Yeah, I tried to date, but it just didn't work out.
Okay.
Because when the next person who I tried to date showed some behavior that I saw in my ex,
you were out.
I didn't even try to be patient. I remember a friend of mine said I wasn't ready for a commitment because I wasn't patient anymore. I still not am patient. If you try to show me any imperfections that I can relate to, I move.
I'm not sure that's a really bad thing, because if you go back to one of your lessons, you said if somebody shows you signs of being an abuser, just walk away. I think it applies to more than just being an abuser. If somebody's showing you signs of being a cheater, a liar, an arrogant person, someone who doesn't like family, you really do yourself a favor and just walk away.
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, you can just you're gonna walk away from people that really had the potential. You never know.
I think the philosophy that I live by is be with someone whose worst side you can deal with.
But how will you know that they're worth?
Because they present signs of it. So if this guy is showing you signs of choking you and you can't deal with getting choked, leave. But if you can deal with somebody who's got a short fuse and they shout and then they apologize and you can deal with that, then you can be with them.
I'll tell you of kids that grew up seeing their parents like their mothers being abused, their fathers shouting, having like displaying this abusive behavior, and their parents they're still together till now. So when you are that person that experienced that and you bump into a person that also has the same behavior, you are bound to stay.
Yeah, because again, it's something that you can deal with. It's somebody whose worst behavior you can deal with. That's the important aspect.
Because you saw it happening somewhere.
Yeah, because you saw it happening somewhere. So if you can handle it, you can deal with it, even though if it's not right. I mean, but what else can you do?
Nothing at all. But then, if I don't know if this makes it any better, I just don't hope to like settle anymore.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't really settle, because settling causes and breeds resentment.
You know the settling I'm talking about?
What settling for, as in settling like, for less?
No. That idea that you bump into your soulmate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that I don't look forward to anymore. Like it's something that I just told myself that if it happens, it happens. Yeah. But then if it doesn't. I mean, why spend the rest of my life trying to wait for something that I've been waiting for ever since I started dating? I think so. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's a very practical approach to life, which I think is useful, because it at least keeps the door open for you to be with someone.
Yeah, it does.
You know, because you're your very way. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
You don't beat yourself up, and I think it potentially avoids you making very desperate moves, which you might regret, purely because you're hoping so much for something to come to life, and it doesn't. But hey, thanks. You know, this has been really, really, really interesting story and turn of events. And just to play back the lessons, you know, you can't heal someone, and I guess this became very obvious that you couldn't heal this person. He's got some real deep, dark trust issues that he really needs to make an effort to resolve, because if he doesn't, whoever is going to be with is going to be that woman who will hurt him. Second lesson, you can't change their perspective about certain things, especially if they're broken. We spoke about that extensively on this episode. Third lesson, don't make it a priority to heal them. You're not a hospital. And I'm glad you really brought out this lesson, because when we spoke initially and I asked you why you really did it, you said it's because you felt you could change him and you could heal him. It's just not our place to do that. Number 4, if someone shows you signs of being an abuser, just walk away. I mean, you couldn't say that any better. He showed you signs twice. 1, when you first refused to give him sex, and 2, when he said, if you get pregnant, I will kill you.
Yeah.
5th lesson, if you decide to deal with someone that has been married before, best to know why they got divorced in the first place, because it allows you to make an informed choice. on how you want to proceed. And maybe let's just expand that and say not just if somebody got divorced, if somebody broke up with someone, ask that question. And I've added one more lesson there that you didn't that you didn't talk about, and this is lesson number 6. And I'm saying it's okay to be human. Yeah. Because you are doing your best to be strong and not allowing yourself to be human.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether that had an impact on the miscarriage that you had. The doctor didn't help you that answer, but it is okay to be human.
It is okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Safiatou. I really, really enjoyed this. And for those who are listening to this episode of The Feeling Station, we hope you found the lessons to be meaningful. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in the next episode. Peace.
Ow. Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis and Daru Raini and Chake Zain.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Satis and Daru Raini and Chake Zain.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziru amai.
Kujidziru amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziru amai.